Hello, welcome back to this series of interview. After a short break, we are back again with another amazing astrophysicist. Today, we are going to interview Dr. Kuntal Mishra. She is a faculty at Aryabhatta Research Institute of Observational Sciences, ARIES, at Nainital. Her research interest lies in high-energy cosmic transients such as gamma-ray burst, supernovae, electromagnetic counterparts of gravitational wave sources, and various other exotic transients, and she is also a former member of WGGE. So let's invite her in. So thank you so much for joining us for the second interview of WGGE, and we are very pleased to have you here with us, Dr. Kuntal Mishra. Thank you so much again for joining us. So without further ado, let's just dive into the interview. And so you are from Aries, right? Aries Nainital, and you are an astronomer. So can you tell us uh, why you chose this field? Why astronomy or astrophysics, particularly?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure to be speaking to you today. So, I basically grew up in a small town in Nainital, which is located in the foothills of the Himalayas in the Uttarakhand state. So, not many people are aware that there is a world-class observatory in this region. Even while I was growing up, we used to see from far away place a dome-like structure where the telescope was housed. It is still there, in fact. So I used to wonder what that dome-like structure is. We used to pass by that place and look at it from a faraway distance quite a few times, and that was one thing about which I was curious. And then, because I was living in this hilly area, we could see brilliant skies. So you could see numerous stars in the sky. But
Mm.
at that time, of course, it did not really, fascinate me that much, or really, I didn't think deeper about it.
Right.
That how does one study the stars, or what is the evolution of the stars, and what are the different phases? I mean, there are many numerous things which one can delve into while studying the universe. So when I was in my class 12th, that was in 1993, there was a total solar eclipse in the month of October.
Right.
And from school, we had to take part in that eclipse. It was a small expedition in the town itself. We were provided with solar eclipse glasses, and we woke up very early in the morning, like at 5 o'clock or so, and we were very excited to be a part of that event. So
Right.
I studied in an all girls school throughout.
Oh,
So we were very excited to go to some other school and see the total solar eclipse. And believe me, it was amazing. That was one of the brilliant experiences I've had in my life about visualizing an astrophysical phenomena.
wow.
And it was a total solar eclipse. So we just couldn't believe what we witnessed that
Right.
day.
Right.
And after that, we had to make our science projects in class 12. So I made a project in physics about satellite communication.
Oh,
That's the time I went through a lot of magazines and I drew a lot of things on my project. And that slowly started, with that, I slowly started getting involved in what physics is all about. And
mhm.
then I did my master's. I did my MSc in physics just because I had interest in science. So I took up a master's in a physics course, and there we had a special paper in astrophysics in the second year of the master's course. Although it was not a very detailed syllabus, we read about the general or basic astrophysics, what is taught in the master's courses. And from that, I started to think about the phenomena which are going on in the sun and how stars are formed. And then I also came to know that stars eventually die. And when they die, they give rise to exotic explosions. So
Mm.
from there, this interest in astrophysics started developing. And I was fortunate enough to be able to get into a PhD in Aries, where I started my professional journey as an astronomer while doing my PhD.
Right. Right.
So that's like the basic background of how I got into this field.
Amazing, amazing. So I have heard this story from like many amateur astronomers or astronomers per se, that their first exposure to this thing was actually an eclipse, some kind of an eclipse. So I think that's a common tie between all of you great astrophysicists, I would say.
Exactly, because that's something which you are witnessing yourself.
Right, right.
It's not one of those processes, very advanced processes going on in the stars which are so far away, which you can't really see, right? So
That's
that's why sun, to a large extent, being our nearest neighbor, displays many such magnificent phenomena which we can like really visualize and relate to.
right. Yeah. So apart from these, actual events, are there any of your role models or inspirations, I could say, which got you into this field, or any person? Uh,
So I was not very much exposed to astrophysics, to be very frank. The real science behind astrophysics, it was only when I got into a PhD, I realized that it is much more than seeing the universe.
right.
So it involves a lot of physics, it involves a lot of mathematics, a lot of computer software skills. So it's a diverse field which is an amalgamation of a lot of other things that can be put into use over here. So
Mm-hmm.
there have been a lot of people who have influenced my life, both in personal ways as well as in my professional journey. So just to name one or two would be really difficult for me. But one person certainly would be my PhD supervisor, Professor Ram Sagar, who has been very instrumental in being a part of this journey of me being an astronomer. And then during those times, our Indian space scientists like Professor APJ Abdul Kalam, I was also greatly inspired by his journey and
Right.
how he took the Indian space mission to all new heights. But there have been several people, I would say.
Right. So we keep meeting a lot of people around us, and some or the other keep inspiring us throughout this journey. So yeah, I would say that. And yeah, so have you always been at Aries, or were there any?
No, so I started my PhD program here, but I've done part of my work at the Raman Research Institute also because my co-supervisor was at RRI at that time.
Right.
And after that, I moved to Ayuka for a postdoctoral fellowship.
Okay.
And then I moved to the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore, where I was a postdoc before taking up a permanent position in Aries as a faculty here.
Right. So what brought you back to Aries? It being new,
Uh,
or
what brought me back? There are different reasons what brought me back over here. The first thing I would say was I'm an observational optical astronomer,
right.
and Aries has the best of the facilities globally for observational astronomy. I'm primarily trained as an optical astronomer. I've spent many number of nights observing the celestial sources. And the second reason is also a personal reason because my husband is also here.
Okay.
So we had the two body problem.
Right. Right.
If one has to move, the other has to also look for jobs.
Right.
And that is not very trivial. And so I have the perks of being with my family as well as using the world class, the largest telescopes in the country now by being at Aries.
Wonderful, wonderful. And can you tell us a little bit, because we always say that, you are an astrophysicist or you are an astronomer, but even in astrophysics, we have lot of, classifications or divisions of work. So can you briefly, like in short sentences, can you tell us what exactly your work consists of?
Okay, so I work on uh, the after effects when the stars die.
Oh,
These are the stellar deaths, and when the stars explode, they give rise to different phenomena, which are popularly known as supernovae.
Right.
Most of the people are aware of the supernovae. Then there are gamma ray bursts, which are another amazing cosmic transients, which we've studied in astronomy over the last 3 decades. So, yeah, in short, I would say I work on how the stars die and what are the different phenomena they give rise to after they die.
Right. That sounds very fascinating. Amazing. So, bringing you back to the WGGE as an organization, you have already been a member of this organization. So, can you tell us how were you associated with this, or what brought you back to this organization?
So, when I did my PhD, that time I didn't have a lot of knowledge about, I was very naive. I didn't have a lot of knowledge about gender equity. And although I experienced it myself at different phases of my career, but there was no awareness or what I could do to like address this issue. But when I went to the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore, I
Mhm.
saw that there was a lot of discussion on gender equity there.
Right.
We all know about the Baltimore chapter, right?
Yes, yes.
So there were a lot of implementations about being more inclusive, being more diverse, and being more like bringing the equity on the table for both the professional astronomers as well as any person in the staff who was working over there.
Right.
That's how I slowly started understanding that what measures people are taking. And then there we used to have an all women's lunch many a times.
So,
We used to get speakers from different places around the world. They were excellent speakers who would talk about these issues. And then the organizers would have arrange a special lunch with the postdocs, with the female postdocs, the female faculties, and other staff members. So that's how my awareness started growing, and I started reading more about it. And then when I came back to India in Aries as a faculty, that was in December 2020, December 2012.
right.
And in Feb 2013, there was this Astronomical Society of Meeting India in Trivandrum, and I went there for this meeting. So one of my very close friend and colleague, Professor L. Reshmi, who is now at the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology in Trivandrum, she was already involved with the WGGE, with the
Mhm.
people, the founding members of WGGE. And she told me about this, that we are coming up with such a thing. There are discussions being held. And in that ASI in Trivandrum, the first formal meeting of the WGGE, along with the participants of the ASI, was it, in which I participated. There were discussions about some of the pertaining questions and how one would want to see the future of this gender equity
Mhm.
within the astronomical community in India. So that's how I got involved with WGGE. That
Mhm.
was my first participation in India in early 2013.
Mhm.
And after that, after a few years, I became a member of the working group. Also, I was there for 3 years,
Mhm.
and we uh, did some work on various things.
Right. And can you tell us, like, mm, how would you describe this sort of journey of gender equity that you see around you? Uh, has it been like, are there any advances? Have you made any progress with this particular topic from when you started?
I would say certainly yes, there has been progress, but
Mhm.
we still have a long way to cover.
Right.
So
So,
from where I started and where I'm today, like I've spent 20 years in this astronomy career right from my PhD times, and I would say there are changes, and there are some changes which are definitely for good.
mhm.
But in terms of achieving the inclusion and the equity, we still have a long way to reach.
Right. And how would you describe the, what should be the future goals of this particular organization, or what should they keep in mind going forward with this issue?
I think WGGE, since its inception, its formation, has done an excellent job. We
Yes.
have really good members
Mhm.
in the working group, and we also try to include others who are not a part of the core group. There have been surveys conducted, there have been speakers from uh, non-astronomy domains also, especially the sessions which are held during the Astronomical Society of India meetings.
Mhm.
Those are amazing. We get really good speakers there. I think for future, what could be thought about is that, of course, expanding on whatever is going on is already there,
Mhm.
and the new members are doing an excellent job in taking WGGE further. But one thing which I could think of is that we had this Hyderabad Charter, which was drafted, right, in India. And there are some excellent points and very practical points which are suggested in that charter. So maybe one could try to look at those points and how those points are being implemented in different institutions, different universities, and the recommendations which are made by the in that charter, whether they can be followed, or the institutions could also discuss that which ones are more easier to follow, because then those can be implemented immediately, right?
Right.
So I think those are some things which I would personally think that that could be taken further.
Right. And apart from these, like apart from the suggestions that are made in Hyderabad Charter, are there any more, particular activities or particular things that you think that every institution should have to, bridge this gap? Uh,
um
that
yeah One thing which comes immediately to my mind is childcare,
yes.
because if both parents are working, I think uh, the institute also will benefit,
Mhm.
because
Right.
if the parents are like affirmed about the childcare facilities and these things, then the productivity would also grow.
Yeah.
So this is one thing which comes to my mind. And I think bringing childcare into the ASI meetings was an
Mhm.
effort which the WGGE put
Yeah.
forward. And that was a brilliant initiative. And I think people are using it now. So before any ASI meeting, it is made sure that the childcare is available.
Yeah. Right.
And that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I still see in a lot of these are my personal uh, experiences, and I think I'm sure others also face these things. That in most of the organizations, still the gender neutral language is not being used. You have several sets of documentations or forms and various other things, but this is also something which can be implemented. It won't require much effort, right? But one has to, if you get into that mode of doing the things, then it is easily doable, I feel.
Right. We just have to be mindful about what is
Yes,
happening around us. Right.
exactly.
Yeah. Uh, Great. I think these are some great advice that you've given us, and I'm pretty sure that going forward, WGG and rather all the organizations, even individually on our level, we would definitely try to implement what you said. So, do you have any advice to people who are inspiring to be astronomers or astrophysicists per se, and coming into the field of astronomy in any sort of way? So, do you have any advices that would you want to pass on to the next generation?
um, whether you become a professional astronomer or not, it doesn't matter. But if you have the passion, and even if you want to pursue it as your hobby, I think you will go a long way. Because we've seen that uh, some of the very good results, especially because I work on transients, I've seen that how amateur discoveries are made.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're interested, I think you should keep the passion alive,
Right.
whether or not you become a professional astronomer or not. This is my first statement. But if you want to pursue it as an profession, as a profession or a career, then I would say that there are a lot of opportunities which are coming up in the present times. And astronomy is a very wide and a vast area.
Correct.
It beholds a lot of scientific challenges. It's the depth of knowledge in astronomy is infinite, I would say.
Right.
It brings in together a lot of sciences, a lot of things that we see in our day-to-day lives. So if you're open to learning, then astronomy is one such field where you will keep growing day by day.
Right.
And there is no stopping you from
Correct.
your quest of knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say to all the aspiring uh, young students who would want to take astronomy as their as an option.
Yeah. So true. So it's so vast, such a vast field that even if you like do like 10 things today, you will always have 100 more tomorrow to do. Right.
Exactly.
So,
And especially when you start working with students, you learn so much from them. You give them challenging problems, and with them, you develop. So I always tell them that the my progress is not possible without the efforts that my students are putting in. You learn from them. I
right.
mean, it's amazing how they work. Because that also shows you the how to catch up with the younger generation, right?
Right, right, correct. Yes. So, yeah, thank you so much. I think that brings me to my last question. Are there any more points that you wish to add into this interview with respect to
Um,
your astronomy, anything you like?
uh, um, we've covered most of the things, but
Yes.
in brief, what I could say is that there are a lot of issues which are ignored or which are really not thought to be relevant. Maybe a little more sensitization towards those points would be very useful. And
Yeah.
sensitization not only for women in STEM in general, I
Hmm.
think for everybody around us,
Right.
because unless that is done, then the equity we are trying to achieve, or the equity which we keep discussing, will not come in our society.
Right. Yeah. All right. So thank you so much again, ma'am, for joining us and doing this interview. We are very, very grateful for your time, and I'm pretty sure that going forward we would, keep meeting and having this kind of discussions ahead also. And even WGG members, whoever are coming to join this organization, will keep this interview in mind. So thank you so much again for doing
Thank you
this.
so much, and thank you for your time. And I really appreciate the efforts which are being put forward by the WGGE now. So thanks so much.